Pucks with Haggs is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
Welcome to another edition of the Pucks with Haggs podcast, powered by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. This is the 152nd episode of the Pucks with Haggs podcast. We are recording this on Christmas Eve morning, so Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody out there. I'm your host, Joe Haggerty. You can find my work at joehaggerty.substack.com. Subscribe and get yourself a premium membership. All of my NHL and Bruins writing sent straight directly to your inbox box. I also file columns 3 times a week for the Boston Sports Journal, so go to bostonsportsjournal.com. Get yourself a subscription there. Makes nice stocking stuffer as a Christmas present as well. With me today, I have a longtime friend and colleague, Mick Colageo, and another longtime friend and colleague, the Boston Globe's Kevin Paul Dupont. Very easy to say right there. Merry Christmas to both of you gentlemen. How are you spending the holidays?
I'm celebrating my snow globe, and I'm so glad Dupes is here for us to be a very globy Christmas Eve. No, it's going to be quiet it's going to be quiet in Wareham, but we'll see my sweetheart's son in his GF.
Very nice. How about you, Dupes?
I will be I'll be here in Buffalo with the now victorious Buffalo Sabres. So I was thinking last night when they finally broke it that would be enough to get Petraglia canned, right?
And it's a lopsided outcome too. I mean,
yeah,
that's what you call
wallops.
A one-game winning streak.
Was everybody outside banging pots and pans and whooping could be heard everywhere in the streets when they finally got a win, Dupes?
Yeah, pots and pans full of chicken wings. You bet.
Very nice. Well, happy holidays to both of you gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. Let's also thank our sponsors real quick. Prize Picks, of course. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Also, if you're looking for any kind of tickets whatsoever, use our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, download the app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Mick?
Game Time.
I'm looking for a Mega Millions ticket. Have you got a Mega Millions ticket for me?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's going to be
sure.
the next
Just
one.
don't have a winning one.
Mega Millions. We will take you as a sponsor anytime, any day. Bring it in, just like Dupe said. By the way, Snow Globe, Mick, there was no Bruins Christmas present last night, was there? Unless I missed it. Did you get a Snow Globe?
Snow Globe.
Did you get that last night?
Believe it or not, they did not. They did not deliver them to our seats. They just left an open box in the media workroom and said, "Have at it, fellas." And
are you serious?
I defecate you not.
My goodness.
You got to make more frequent visits down there, Haggs.
I guess so. I can't just stick up in the 9th floor and stay away from the fray. I got to go downstairs to the workroom, apparently. Jeez. Sure. My wife was stunned. She's like, "Where's the snow globe?" I'm like, "I didn't see any snow globe. I don't know what happened. I missed the memo." Oh, well, let me see it, Mick. Let's unbox it.
All right.
Let's literally rub it in our faces.
Yes, please.
I don't want to destroy this. I might want to make somebody's day.
You want to keep it in pristine condition in case you sell it on eBay.
I might want to be somebody. I might want to be somebody's faux hero. Let's see here. This is official National Hockey League styrofoam, which is used across the league for outdoor games. It just looks like ice. Let's see if this thing is going to. Oh yes, it comes. Okay, and voila.
Oh,
and I think it's supposed to. Oh yeah. So if you look inside, you can see inside TDG.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's the fan cam from outer space.
That's pretty cool. The bird's eye view of the garden.
Let's shake it up. Oh yeah. And there it is.
Very nice. Look at that. I feel the Christmas spirit coursing through my veins right now. Thank you, Mick.
Well,
each of those flakes represents a Bruins goal. there ain't many.
No,
I know.
You better enjoy them when they're here.
This needs more shaking this season if they're going to go anywhere.
There's a lot of shaking, baby.
A lot of shaking going on.
Last night, a solid 4-1 win for the Bruins, where, I mean, the first two periods, not much going on. The floodgates kind of opened for the Bruins in the third. They popped a bunch of goals and pulled away. Low event game for the first couple of periods, but I thought much more so in this one than in that game against Buffalo. I thought there was a lot more to like, a better effort. I really like Coyle now on the wing the last couple of games, playing with Lindholm and Marchand as a trio. I think that's an effective, pretty good NHL line. They held Buffalo to 11. Not Buffalo. They held Washington to 11 shots on net. That's the lowest shot total they've held a team to since 1993. The Bruins. I think they're starting to really sort of get accustomed to Joe Sacco's style, how he wants them to play, what he's sort of preaching out there, and you can see the effectiveness in the way that they're playing. And they're getting better at it, and finding ways to dabble in a little bit more offense with the good, strong defense that they're playing. Dupes, what have you thought just last night, first of all, your takes from last night, and also just as a whole since Sacco took over? What's your impression on this team?
Well, for last night, I thought it was low event, pretty much start to finish. A better third period. So yep. On the encouragement list for home games, especially for third period, better. They've played extremely well under Joe. I don't see that there's any sort of Morgan magic to this in terms of strategy or play. They're doing it without Hampus Lindholm, so that kind of gives, I think, Joe extra credit. I know some of the listeners, watchers won't agree with that because there are many out there who are down on Hampus. I'm not one of them, but I understand their dislike. So, you know what I like most about this, Haggs, is it makes winter interesting for us, right?
Yes.
If they were going to go down that 8-9-3 pace that they had with Montgomery, well, we were going to be Buffalo by about January 5th in terms of interest level and who's going to get traded and sell at the deadline. So this kind of, at least for me, it frames interest. What concerns me is after we've given them their due here, because they've played 11-4-1 under Joe. They don't score. It was a little better last night, but they're pretty much bottom of the barrel in the conference, and that's the reason for their goal differential here. It's been a little better of late, but seeing Pasta go out after 9 minutes of ice time, we don't know when he'll get back. I don't know if that's just precautionary, but there's no sort of juice in that top six. And to me, that's got to be remedied. If they're going to be a bona fide cup contender rather than just a playoff in the mix, and let's be thankful for that, they got to juice up that top six.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think they definitely need to bring in another bona fide scoring top six winger probably at the deadline, somebody that can finish off plays, somebody that can make an impact, somebody that can generate offense, just a dynamic offensive player. They definitely need one more forward that they're short right now. But the one thing I would say is that I think adding Charlie Coyle to the top six mix as a winger might solve that. And I think we've seen that, or to a degree anyway, might solve that a bit in the short term. And maybe it creates a situation where that line is taken care of. And maybe ultimately you bring somebody in that you want to replace Geekie because you kind of view him as a third line guy. And once you trade for a top six winger, they can put in Geekie's spot and put Geekie down on the third line. I think that that could snap into focus a lot more depth scoring wise and a lot more dangerous, potent lineup. But a lot of it does depend on if, the thing with Coyle and Lindholm and Marchand continues. But I've really liked the way that that's looked. And it feels to me when I'm watching the three of them play, like they're a legit top six forward line, like they're able to play in all three zones. They're able to generate scoring chances. It's bringing out the best in Lindholm. I don't think there's any question about that he's been at his best the last, few games, as opposed to what we saw earlier in the year. And Mick, I remember last time you were on with me, we were talking about Coyle playing on the wing and, whether that's something that they're going to definitely be looking at here over the next few months, headed into the deadline, and see how that looks as to what they need, who they're going to ship out, any of that kind of stuff. Do you view that in any way as a potential long-term solution with Coyle on the wing playing with those other two guys? Because I think they play well together. I think there's a chemistry already there with Marchand and Coyle. I think they bring out the best in Lindholm. This is something I think the Bruins should and would look at for, a much longer course of time if it continues to work like this. And it could end up being the line that we see moving forward if it keeps working.
We will probably get this for the 5 remaining games now to get to the halfway point of the season. And when they do, I think we will have seen what is sustainable in that regard. Even so, Charlie Coyle is such an important 3-zone, 2-way centerman, carrying heavy loads in terms of his role in there, that I just have a hard time seeing this as a sustainable option. And that will only continue in as much as they produce. And the first line is sort of a results business, just like coaching is. And that they continue to get strong center play below Lindholm. Zaka had most of last season at center and was really good until the hockey got really hard in near the end, and they wound up moving him third line, moving him to wing, doing this, doing that. Geeky wound up at center, second line center in the playoffs. Freddie, I'm looking at that third line, and I'm looking at Brazo, Frederick, and Wallstrom, and saying to myself, if you take the widest snapshot you can of this roster, that third line looks about as temporary as anything when you look at the context of the team's season, the players, the contracts, the situation, and you say, this is nowhere near done. And if Coyle stays on this team, he goes back to the middle there. And unless Poitras's there.
See, well, that's what I was going to say. I see this as them sort of like putting pieces in place to see what they look like in anticipation of them bringing up Poitras at some point in the new year, and him being the third line center. I feel like part of the reason they're looking at everything they're looking at now is with that in mind, for him to be that kind of dynamic line driving guy, if he can be it as the center on the third line, where he would also, as a young player, I think, get enough time on ice to continue to develop and it'd be worth his while and get the best out of him if he's the third line center, where he's playing with at least adequate offensive players and he's playing more than 10, 11 minutes a night. That's going to help him develop at the NHL level as well. Obviously the goal streak stopped at 7, but still, Dupes, that's pretty impressive for him to go down to the AHL, dominate as he has, and sort of find that offensive mojo that he kind of lost a little bit at the NHL level, which can happen a lot to younger players like that. And he seems to be, beefing up his audition tape, so to speak, to get called back up to the NHL and to play a role like third line center as they move the pieces there and try to figure out answers.
Yeah, I'm sure they could bring up Poitras right now. The fact that they haven't tells me that they have that concern about his size and his thus far inability to avoid getting clobbered. So, and he's got really good game IQ. He's got a good skill set. I think they just don't want to run the risk with him right now. They'd prefer that he add some weight and some heft. So it's great that he's there. They really haven't had a guy down there who's got that kind of offensive mojo that really tantalizes us. I mean, I know, people talk about Lysell and Merkelhoff, but thus far we haven't seen that kind of production from them. I think I'm with Mick. I go with Coyle as my third line center. Make that a staple of the lineup, and then you've got to fill out in the wings. Whether it's you go out and get Kreider, whether it's you get Kane closer to the trade deadline, it's got to be, for me, that kind of dynamic. Looking for answers within, Kastelik, four more shots on net last night.
Yep.
He was their third most active producer in terms of shot number for the road trip. It's time to get him up and try him in that top 6. So right now, I'd be dropping Coyle down to into the 3-hole center, Kastelik up front, and see what he can do. Nobody in this lineup that I'm looking at, other than Pasta, is going to drill it from the side, right?
Yeah.
Marchand put a beauty on net last night, but Lindgren made a nice save.
Yeah, well,
but that's rare. Again, you're right. It's rare.
Yeah, it's rare. Geeky's got a hell of a shot.
He does.
Geeky's got a hell of a shot.
The one thing I did notice with Geeky is that last night on the power play, he seemed to be more of a point position a few times where they were taking advantage of that big heavy shot, and it ended up like creating a goal where he they created the rebound that Brazeau scored on. So he's somebody that has a heavy, powerful shot and seems to be coming out more now.
Yes.
So maybe he's somebody that could do that, but he's really the only one that I've seen aside from Pasta that can create anything with his shot from any kind of distance or like you're talking about from a different angle.
Yeah. So to me, you got to munch more shots on net, and you got to get guys more eager to get in one, take one in the kisser to try to put it away. They were very programmed with Montgomery to go for quality shot, which is all well and good. But it wasn't working. I still think they're kind of getting off that grooming of quality shot, and they're looking more at, I'm going to let it rip. So Kastelik would be one answer. Maybe. These are all maybes, right? Geeky emerging more as a shooter. Charlie, I don't know how long we're going to say it. I will probably be saying it as a retirement party, but Charlie's got a decent shot. Shoot it. Get it up there. Get more action at the net. They've got some big-bodied forwards, Coyle being one of them. Not that we've seen that he's a real fighter around the net, but they could goose more out of Brazeau in that sense. Kastelik, just get guys around it. And Mick's not agreeing.
I feel like Brazeau is wrung everything he can out of himself, and he scored last night. God bless him. Happy, he's deserving of his effort, but there's just not enough there. And then you say, is there a true fit for him in a third line here? Maybe there is. How does it work? It depends on what else lands there and how he works with it, because they're not done here. We know that. I mean, Coyle.
Well, look, Brazeau's got more power play goals than anybody else in a Bruins uniform this month, and he's been effective on the power play quite a bit this year. That second unit has 4 of the 6 power play goals that the Bruins have scored in the month of December.
Yeah, I mean,
they're doing their job, and then some, because they don't get a lot of power play time.
I just don't see him as a top 6 guy in the long run when the hockey gets really hard. I do agree with Dupes about the ferocity of Kastelik, and that getting you have a guy there who's like a poor man's Rick Tocchet, who's you're saying, boy, there's a hammer there. Why aren't we swinging it? And so I understand how you're thinking there. I think there are management. I'm looking at this and I see management at work. I see Coyle on the wing. I see, it's like a blend of trying to get solutions, short-term solutions for offense. At the same time, Freddie is back at center, and what's going on there, and what does this mean? So is this a request from a potential trade partner? There's an awful lot that could. I have a hard time seeing Freddie and Coyle both on this team at the end of the season. Yeah,
I agree. This is what Dupes. Let me ask you this, because we were talking about this in the last episode, I think, that I had Mick on, where I kind of see Trent Frederick going down the same trodden path as guys like Torrey Krug and Jake DeBrusk, where it feels like there's not much movement contract-wise. It feels like maybe there's a desire for the player to be elsewhere at the end of the season, or to, attain some kind of number contract-wise that the Bruins just aren't going to give him. And it feels like there's some vibe of he's not going to be back with this team and he may end up somewhere else. Is this when Bruins management does sort of maybe wise up a little bit, even if they're in playoff status, and trades a player like this before the deadline and gets some value back, instead of going down the path with them all the way to free agency and losing them for nothing, as they did with Krug and DeBrusk, when they pretty much knew with both of those players, I think for a long period of time, that they were not coming back and that they were going to go elsewhere in free agency. And Frederic is on the precipice of that now. I'm not sure the Bruins are going to pay him whatever he wants and what kind of term that he wants. Is that somebody that, because he has value on the market, let's face it, somebody's going to view him as that mythical power forward beast that can come in and provide offense, drop the gloves, be a physical power forward, all that stuff. Do you view him as a guy that you trade and get some value for ahead of the deadline?
Well, you hit the nail on the head, mythical. And I like him a lot. As I've been saying to a few friends on the beat the last couple of weeks, I like Freddie as a person far more than I like his game.
100%. Great kid.
He's a very good guy. I think he's earnest. And I would say he falls into a group here, and I could probably, on a nightly basis, I guess I'd put him in with 17 other skaters that they put in uniform. Nobody's playing with any anger. This isn't college hockey. And in fact, I can watch some college games that's got more anger in it. Freddie would be good to find anger. Charlie got popped last night by Wilson, and he responded pissed.
Yes.
You know what?
Yes.
This is a game best played pissed, and none of these guys are doing it. I don't get it. And again, you can go out there and play angry all night long and get absolutely nothing done. But I would contend Freddie, Brazeau, and I don't mean to hold up Kastelik here as the Hart Trophy winner, but he plays with some anger, right?
Yes.
So if you're not going to get it done with skill, I mean that sounds ridiculous, I guess. But if what you're counting on is your skill package, your size, your ability, and that's what we're talking here. Heinen fell into that. I was going to add Heinen to your group of guys, not the profile of Krug, not the profile of DeBrusk. But I would have kept Heinen on the team, and I would have given him a 3-year deal toward the end of last year at pretty much what he got in Vancouver. So, yeah, it's a poor planning method to lose guys to UFA in general. But what I would be looking for, and I don't know if Joe Sacco's got this in his arsenal, but somebody to tease out nightly anger for the 8.5 minutes you go and play. That's what we're talking about here. Guys who are getting 8 to 12 minutes. All I ask you is to go out there and play pissed off. Let's see what happens tonight.
Yeah, Dupes, we talked about this a little bit or last week, and I 100% agree with you. And especially, I think a guy like Brazeau, I think would be way more effective and would be a much more dangerous player with more room to operate if he played that way. If he was played angry and played super physical, guys would get out of the way. He's huge. He's big and strong and massive, and he's got some offensive skill. But guys are all over him right now because I don't think they're afraid of getting up close to him and really playing him hard. Where if he was a different kind of player that played angry, I think he'd have a lot more room to operate, and he'd be even more effective than he is right now. I totally 100% agree with that. And I agree with that with all the players that you're talking about. Let's take a break in the podcast real quick to talk about our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America and the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Instead of battling thousands of other players that could be pros or sharks, you simply pick more or less than a 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll right in. It is fun, and it is pretty simple. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this hockey season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Join now because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. That's right, Picksmas. Of course, the NHL is not playing games on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, or the day after Christmas. So we're going to be looking at some other stuff for Prize Picks. This week on Prize Picks, I'm looking at the board and selecting on Christmas Day, Nikola Jokic only needs 1x point for you to win 1x square. This week is the 7 days of Picksmas, where Prize Picks is giving you a shot at $1 million along with daily rewards for just playing. So the game to look at is Pittsburgh versus Kansas City on Christmas Day. Will Patrick Mahomes throw for more than 250 yards? Will Travis Kelce have more than 5 catches? I say yes to both. The answer is obviously yes. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. You can win now up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Prize Picks now offers MasterCard as well for quick and early deposits, easy deposits into your accounts this sports season. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Dupes, how worried, concerned, whatever adjective you want to use, descriptive word you want to use, are you about Pasternak's injury and him leaving that game last night? Didn't look like any kind of big hit that pushed him out. It looked to me more like maybe something's been bothering him and he finally said, I can't go anymore, and then left the ice. And maybe, wisdom is the better part of valor there with a 3-day break and he can heal up a little bit. But some concern that Pastrnak is nursing something that's been bothering him because he has seemed reluctant to shoot. And maybe it's some kind of upper body injury that's affecting his shot and causing some of the obvious reticence we've seen him shooting the puck this year.
Not nearly himself, and that has been for weeks now. So, yeah, I mean, he's on pace for about 79 or 80 points.
Yep.
Not even 30 goals.
Yep.
If we were just talking a pedestrian player here, rather than someone who's making $11 million a year and is supposed to be the maraschino cherry of their offense, he hasn't been that. So it didn't, from what I could decipher last night, it didn't look to me or sound to me like it was serious. It looked more like it was precautionary. So, yeah. But that said, he's got to get going. He's among the vast group here. If you go, there's only 2 guys in the lineup with more than 20 points. You go to Nashville, and Nashville's down at the bottom of the conference. Nashville's got 5 or 6 guys with 20 points. That tells you the disparity here. Yeah. So I don't know if he's playing, he can't be all that bad. Usually when you're looking at these type, I would suspect a rib thing. And that's going by basically watching guys in the course of history. I don't know. As you guys know, they keep everything buttoned up. We still don't know 6 weeks later, really what it is with Hampus Lindholm, other than it's, month to month. I would assume it's a shattered kneecap, but who knows?
I was going to say, it's definitely broken something. There's no question about that.
Yeah. And what's odd about that, and I'll go off on a tangent here so Mick can go off on his tangent, is when they wouldn't tell us it was a fracture, because typically if you go around, even let's go to the greatest goal scorer in the game right now, Ovechkin, when he broke his fibula or whatever, they told you the next day, broken fibula. Usually with fractures, they'll tell you right away. Yep. When it wasn't that, I thought maybe it was one of those Brickley/Neely things where it's a bloody mess inside that can turn into one of those clots.
Bill Guerin had that too.
There was this kind of mystery of what it is. Whereas, Bobby Carpenter broke a kneecap. They went out and he put him on that machine for weeks and he came back. Yeah. So it's just a little bit odd here on that. So your tangent time, Mick.
I hope he doesn't go down a wormhole like Kevin Miller or Gord Kluzak, Yeah. I mean, there's just some injuries that just never let go. And I hope whenever it happens, Hampus was playing a great brand of hockey for the Bruins this season, very much like the magical year a couple of seasons ago when McAvoy hadn't come into the lineup yet due to his recovery from surgery. And Hampus was just all that in a bag of chips. And now Hampus playing like that.
And the pickle.
Yeah.
Don't forget the pickle.
Yeah. until he blocked.
Bag of chips, pickle,
right.
Side of slaw.
He was, the team was starting to come along.
Is it lunchtime there in Buffalo? You sound hungry.
You can't go.
Sound like you're ready to order at the deli for lunch. Can't
wait for those wings. So, yeah. So, yeah, there's Hampus was playing great when he went down and he blocks that shot. And boy, oh boy, the Bruins kind of went with him. And all the forward momentum they had gained to that point seemed to go poof. And next thing you know, Montgomery can't outrun it. And now they've, Jordan Osterley, finally Kastelik has competition for the 7th player award. So
I've liked his game. I have. You're right.
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
No, he's a solid NHL pro.
Nice skater. Yeah.
Yes. Can move the puck, is elusive, has some like Grizzly-esque, I'd say, elements to his game, and the way that he plays and what he brings to the table, which I think helps McAvoy at times, because I think McAvoy's so used to playing with a guy like that. And it helps him sometimes too. Like, he was good with Zadorov last night, McAvoy, but I think I've liked McAvoy at times with Lowry too, as a guy that can really, really move the puck too, skating with him. Although they can be a little bit of an adventure defensively at times, but it's been interesting to watch him with these different combos, because he was such a long-time guy with Grizzly over the years, to see him with different partners and what can bring out different elements in his game as a defensive partner. But I think I said this to you, Mick. Like, I didn't realize Osterley had played like 350 games or whatever it was in the NHL before he got here. Like, he is a veteran, polished guy that what you're going to get every night when he's in there. Like, people were kind of bitching on Twitter that Wotherspoon wasn't playing because Osterley was in there. And I'm like, I think Osterley gives you more when he's in the lineup than Wotherspoon does, even though Wotherspoon's a solid like 7th D and a guy you can put in there and not worry about. He's not going to bring some of the puck moving elements and some of the poise that Osterley brings to the table.
No, he's not as vulnerable defensively, so there's a little bit of a trade-off there. And the Bruins need offense. And so they were defending very heavily on their defensemen to join the attack. Hampus was the best on their team at doing that when he went out of the lineup. So another blow to the formula. So having Osterley in there has really kind of mitigated that to a bonus kind of an extent that wasn't foreseeable. But credit management for recognizing Kastelik to go in the Ullmark deal, to realizing Osterley and Wotherspoon before him, and as much as the Bruins have had the hiccups at the draft table, they have been incredible at identifying subtle, flying under the radar, journeyman type, mid-career guys. Yeah, here's a guy that they a guy who had been wearing out his welcome and was really trying hard to be a fitter player and be a faster player, and they put him in position to succeed, and they're getting the best of him. And now they're trying to do the same thing with Oliver Wahlstrom. We'll see where it leads. Zach has been a hell of a player for the Bruins this season. I think he's been their best forward.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's take another break real quick in the podcast, because I want to get our friends from Game Time in there, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time for obviously your Bruins tickets, but also if you're looking for tickets to the Patriots, Celtics, or even comedy or concert tickets as well, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The game of the week for this week that would make an outstanding Christmas stocking stuffer is the December 28th showdown between the Bruins and the Sabres at the Garden right after Christmas. Kevin Paul Dupont is already salivating at the idea of the Buffalo Sabres coming back to the Garden for a game right after Christmas. And you can get a super deal for $229 for 7th row loge seats, which is pretty great value for Bruins tickets at Game Time. Some of the great features at Game Time: priority Game Time picks, curation makes it easier to save more on sports, comedy theater, etc. All-in pricing, toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at the checkout. Lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. What's better than 110% of the difference?
Bag of chips.
What's that?
Bag of chips is better than 110.
And a pickle, right?
A pickle and a side of
110% pickle, then you're really rolling in the dough. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Mick?
Game time.
Game Time. There he is with his tickets.
Real paper tickets. Wow. Those are rare.
Oh, that's it.
You must be old.
That's a late 60s Boston Garden. Actually, it's January 25th, 1970.
Nice.
$5 stadium seat.
Gotta love that. All right. As we're wrapping things up here and getting ready for the holiday, Dupes, Your long-term prognosis of this team, just based on what you've seen, I think we've touched on it a little bit. Like, I feel like eventually this team is going to be a wild card team. It feels like that to me. Like, they're going to have a hard time staying in the top three, especially if Ottawa continues to play really well and really pushes and Ullmark stays healthy. They could be a team that finally emerges from the depths in the Atlantic to displace one of those teams, at least from the Atlantic playoff structure. But I feel like wild card team, probably around maybe 2 max for this team, just based on what we've seen this year. Even if they bring in a winger that can score goals, I still think they're going to be hard pressed to really be the kind of offensive team that's going to be able to beat really good teams. And there's enough flaws that are going to be able to be exposed by good teams that you face in the playoffs. Sort of what you see as this team's ultimate path this year based on what you've seen so far.
Well, you've summed up what I thought going into the season. That's exactly how I saw them. I saw them as a wild card team. Now, I'll add this caveat. It's what I've said the last 3 seasons. And
yeah.
They went out and they blew it out of the water Montgomery's first year in terms of regular season record. They did it again last year. Excellent regular season record. What they've ended up is exactly where I thought. They'd play a round or 2. And we can do a separate show on why they didn't win more than a round or 2. But I think that's who they are, because when you get to the playoffs and you see the type of speed, especially speed scoring talent, and that degree of meanness that I talked about, Vegas had a degree of it. Florida had a greater degree of it, which is dictated by top end talent. So unless they're going to really go out here, and it's as you guys know, virtually impossible to change your roster after July 2nd. The talent that's in here, the fact that Pasta is underperforming, Swayman has been underperforming as well. We haven't even touched on goaltending today. I don't see it unless there is something in here, and the only something that I can imagine is. And maybe this is asking for a turtle to be a frog, but there's got to be some emotional manifestation of 5 or 6 guys to really lift the tide here. That's unless they go out and Kreider ends up the answer, Kane ends up the answer, something like that.
Well, let me ask you that. Like Kreider, obviously. The Rangers are a mess. I've always thought the Rangers are a very dysfunctional organization in general. For a long period of time, I feel like they've been. And it's why I don't think they're going to win a cup anytime soon. And it seems to be really like high-level dysfunction right now on what we've seen, how some of the veteran players are being treated. Kreider gets scratched. It seems like he may be on the way out now. Do you view him as a guy that could be an impact player coming here to Boston, Mick? Is that somebody that you think could answer at least some of the questions that the Bruins have if he were to get moved, and if the Bruins could figure out a way to make it work salary cap wise?
If he's healthy. He's had injuries. His response to Chris Drury's memo that has really kind of lit their 12-7-1 season on fire was a detailed Q&A with media about his ailments, and that a guy wouldn't do that if he wanted to leave. So it's not like he's trying to get out of there. But it's been hard for me not to notice the comparables between him and Charlie Coyle as far as age, contract status, what the fit issue is on their own teams, and what is needed on each team. I mean, the Bruins need a stick. They both love New England players who are college bred. Neither one loses in that. So I can't unsee that right now. It just looks to me like such a hand in glove sort of a deal waiting to happen. That said, the Freddie thing, that we don't know where that's going. And the one thing about Freddie that I can't get out of my head is that he's never really been able to settle into one place in this lineup and stay there. And that's not necessarily an indictment. It's more of like a coach has always seen him as a guy they can do different things with. but it's also means that he isn't a guy who provides so much in one role that you can't do anything else with him. You got to have him here. And if a guy is at a big stage of his career, crossroads contract, that you're going to say, is he our core guy for us through the prime years of his career? Then you got to say, then what is he? And I still am not sure that they've got that figured out. And that, unfortunately, makes me feel like there's a bullseye there. And he's the one ticket that's an obvious one to, could Zacha slide back to left wing and Geeky slide down to the third line? And you could wind up having a serendipity thing by adding back Patra. Yeah, all of that could happen. But at the end of the day, this team needs a better power play, a sustainable one. Because everything, and this is like so many other teams in the NHL, you do something for a few games and it works. Then everybody's on to you, and then it stops working. And unless you can reconfigure it somehow, then the same old shortcomings are going to rise and be known. And to me, this is a temporary lineup. It's working. It looked great last night. They beat a good team, although they were on the back end of a 2-2. The game in Washington will tell us much more.
Dupes, your thoughts on Kreider and how the Bruins could make it work, and maybe if you have any thoughts just on what's going on with the Rangers and Drury and that whole organization and what's happening there.
Yeah, I thought going in they'd be far better than this. Dysfunction, that really sums it up in terms of where they are. We could pull back to when Jeff Gorton wrote the letter, "We're open for business," and moved it out. It looked like they were on the right track, and then Dolan changes all of that. So to me, their dysfunction goes right back to ownership.
Yep.
But as far as Kreider, Mick laid it out there really well with the injury stuff. But the reason he's tantalizing to me is his money isn't outrageous. It's heavy, but it's not outrageous. Is that the power play has been so bad here, and that's his history. He can score on the power play. He's a big body. He's skilled around there. But if you look at his year to date, I mean, last I looked, he didn't have an assist this year. I mean, there's nothing going on with him. But I would be, again, I'd have to see what assets are going out. I'd have to have a comfort level on the injury thing that may not be there. He was held out last night. There's rumors he's going to Minnesota. So this whole conversation could be moot. But yeah. I would say I'd have to be I'd be more interested. I keep going back to Patrick Kane because I've been going there for 4 years now. I'd be more interested in Patrick Kane.
One of these times it's going to work out, Dupes.
Yeah, exactly.
Patrick Kane would also be interesting. I think Kreider would be a better fit as far as what he brings to the table, the kind of player he is than Kane would be. I think Kane would be super interesting to watch in Boston. I think that would be fun to have him here. And I think he would definitely bring an element of, creativity and super high level skill for what he can still bring at this day and age. But I just feel like the Bruins do need something like that. They need somebody that's a veteran player. They need somebody that can produce. They need somebody that, that the veteran players on this team, I think, are going to be happy to see come in. Like, I think there's a lot of different things that could play into it that could make it a good fit. But I am going to let you guys go because I know Dupes is dying to go get a Reuben sandwich with a pickle and some chips at the deli. There you go. So let's thank our sponsors real quick. Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS and Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks run your game. Let's also thank the folks at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, download the app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Mick? One more time. Game time. It's also Christmas time. Kevin Paul Dupont, Mick Colageo. Merry Christmas, my friends.
Merry Christmas. Thanks, Haggs. Happy New Year, you guys. And everybody's listening and watching.
Happy Hanukkah, everyone.
Absolutely.
See you on the other side.
Happy holidays to everybody out there. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Have a great holiday season. Thanks to the Festivus for the rest of us. Happy Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you in the new year, and I'll see you at the rink.